Hi everyone, welcome to another Career Talk session by Grad Australia. My name's Emily and I'm going to be your host for today. So I'd like to begin today's session with an acknowledgement of country. So as we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect the meaning of place and by doing so recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. We acknowledge the elders, past and present of all the land we work and live on and their ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today. I'm joining the call from Brisbane, which is the traditional land of the Turrbal people. So to properly introduce Grad Australia and myself, so I'm one of the webinar hosts. These are our career talk sessions. We host them on a weekly basis around all sorts of topics. They provide a bunch of, career advice and uni advice for students. So for those of you who don't know what Grad Australia is, we're a graduate career site where you can explore and get to know different graduate employers. You get a backstage pass to see what it's like to work with them. You also get access to, a bunch of events like these, as well as different programs that you can apply to. So when you sign up to gradaustralia.com and actually set up your account, you actually get notified of open opportunities that are specially curated to you. And you just get prompted on how to apply. And there's a bunch of resources as well to help you do so. So today's session is about navigating an early career in consulting. And we're exploring different career paths of graduates in consulting with a focus on tech and data as well. So we're very lucky to have two guests joining today. So we have Janani, who is the head of culture, engagement, and early careers at Capgemini. And then we have Sudipto Sarkar, who is the principal at the Nous Group. So I just want to hand it over to our speakers. I'll hand it over to Sudipto first. Would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your professional background and how you got to work with the Nous Group?
Yeah, thanks, Emily, and nice to see everyone virtually. So my name is Sudipto. I'm a principal, or as it's also sometimes called a partner, in a company called Nous Group. So Nous is a uh, management consulting firm. We're about 600 people, started in Australia 20 years back, now in Australia, UK, and Canada. Uh, I lead our what's called our digital transformation practice. So it's a practice which advises clients on how they can use technology well, right? And also, uh, you know, uh, how to kind of take the best advantage of newer technologies. We mostly work with large government departments and private sector organizations and not for profits. In terms of my personal background, I mean, I've been in consulting for a couple of decades, working in various firms, but I also did a stint in Telstra as head of the strategy for Telstra Retail.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Janani, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Emily. So I'm Janani De Silva. I'm joining from the Wallumadgal land in City of Ryde. So I see a few people joining from Macquarie Uni. So, representing. I am also from Capgemini. So I've had a little over 2 decades in consulting myself. I come from an IT background. However, I've been with the company for 13 years in Sydney. And I have transitioned over into HR now, having redesigned our grad program 3 years ago. And now I'm currently the head of culture, engagement, and early careers at Capgemini. So really have worked in consulting and now recruit into consulting. So looking to provide some tips today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. So to start it off with, I just want to say hello to everyone in the comments. It's so nice to have you guys here. Love the engagement. And if you guys have any questions, this is the time to pop them in the comments. So basically, how we're going to do today's session is we have a bunch of questions pre-prepared just to give you a bunch of info, around consulting and all that. But if there's any questions that you have, just comment them and then we'll make sure we get to them. And, feel free to keep commenting throughout the video and just spam us with any questions that you guys have. So the first one I want to answer, I just want to go through is quite a general one. I want to talk about, what does a professional consultant do? So I guess we'll go to Sudipto first.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. That's a like a very big question. I think the top level answer to it is, consulting firms kind of look the same, but they often specialize in different things, right? So it does depend quite a bit on the kind of consulting firm you are working in. So I'll just speak about, I guess, what you would do if you were at Nous. So if you were at Nous and you kind of joined the digital and data advisory practice, you would be working on a bunch of things, right? You could be working on doing a business case, let's say for a new, for a very large new IT system. You could be actually working on, let's say, figuring out how to roll out that IT system across multiple locations and business units and those kinds of things. Or, you could be actually uh, crunching some number to actually solve a problem, let's say in the health sector, where let's say we are trying to figure out why some people drop out of specific services. You could be doing that as well. So on a day-to-day basis, what does that mean? I mean, on a day-to-day basis, it means you're either talking to clients or to your team members, and there's a lot of that because a lot of this is joint problem solving. It's different from research, right, where you can sit and kind of do your thing. So there is a lot of teaming with clients as well as your own team members. There is, if you like, a fair amount of writing. So it's you have to come up with your findings and your analysis, but you have to communicate them. So that takes a large part of the day. And then lastly, I guess, you're also kind of, if you like, making formal presentations, because usually in consulting engagements, there is a need to kind of bring along people with what you are saying. So I think these three things are maybe the balance of them is different in different firms, but all those things will be there. But as I said, I mean, so for example, in Nous, you wouldn't be doing any kind of software development or like technical kinds of things, but that's not true of all firms. In many firms, you'll be doing that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. And Jan, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that was a really nice summary. Thanks, Sudipto. I can build upon that. So over at Capgemini and generally in the consulting industry, there are different types of consultants. So management consulting is just one arm of our company, but then you've got technical consulting as well, where you are configuring, you're building a solution, you are working with, products like Salesforce or Microsoft type of stuff. So it varies. It depends where your interests are. And then there's obviously data and artificial intelligence, machine learning. And if you are interested in that and you're studying that, you could have a whole career in consulting in that particular space. But what are you doing day in, day out? Well, this is the type of career you choose if you don't want to be doing the same thing day in, day out. You're essentially meeting with a whole bunch of different clients, so which are essentially could be from retailers like Woolworths to banks to government agencies. And generally, they have some kind of complex challenge in their industry, in their business, that they want to make less complex. Usually they would have tried to sort it out themselves in-house, but then they come knocking on the door of a consultancy because they haven't been able to solve it. They're not able to tap into industry knowledge or recent tech. So they come knocking for expertise, and that's what a consultant house has. A consultancy has reach into best practice, has reach into what's current in tech, have tools, technologies, methodologies that we learn and that we share from a global house. So, for example, we've got 350,000 people in our company globally, and 3,000 in Australia. So if we are doing a project with, say, Toyota, we may tap into what we did with Volkswagen in the UK to kind of like, with permission with all the different clients, to work out, what have we done in this industry, in this space, look at, not reinventing the wheel, learning, applying case studies, and then going, okay, what part of our knowledge will help the client get to where they want to be. Big question, but essentially it depends on what they're trying to solve. But we kind of take the problem, we take our expertise, and we come together to #collaborate. Very cliched word, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're always collaborating in consulting. Back to you, Emily.
Awesome. And I actually have another question for you, Jen. So I would love to know why you think graduates should look to start a career in consulting.
Oh, I've got a good answer for you. When I started in consulting, so I didn't start as a graduate in consulting. I just went to Datacom and I was like a technical support officer, and I was an in-house type of project IT person for the first decade of my career. There's no, one message is don't feel hard done by or sad if you don't get into a consulting. Any path is a good path. Just get started. But why consulting is good when you're starting or wherever you are is that same answer. There's no two projects the same. One day you could be working over at Westpac and working out what their CRM, so your customer relationship system, it needs to do and talking about that. The next day you could be working on a strategy project to work out what New South Wales planning needs to do for their property development system. Completely different, but it's just it's fun. And that's what has kept me here for 13 years is because it feels like a new job, project to project to project. So it's that variety. But I might tag in to go, that's also the downfall. Some days you're like, I wish my job was simple, where I do the same thing day in, day out. And but I think once you get into the rhythm of appreciating how to think, how to deal with the ambiguity and going up that learning curve of new environment, new tech, new methodologies to apply, it actually becomes a lot of fun. So it never gets stale.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That was really interesting to hear. Sudipto, I have a question for you now, actually. I wanted to ask, how can graduates get started in the consulting industry? Do you have any suggestions on that?
So by get started, you mean apply for them or assume they have got a job, and how do they become successful?
So how do they say they're studying one of the business degrees or an engineering degree, but they're interested in consulting? How do they actually pursue a consulting role? Do you have any should they have past internships? Are there particular things they could have done during their uni degree that would help them get a graduate consulting role?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, right? And I think there's a few things. So one is try to get a sense of whether consulting is for you. Like Janani was saying, you might want to do a new thing every day, but you might not, right? Who knows, right? So one way to do it is, I think a lot of the unis have consulting clubs nowadays, right? So go along to one of their sessions and kind of see what's happening. The other thing you can do definitely is, most of the consulting firms now have these things called case studies on their websites. So, do a few of those case studies and just see, is that the kind of problem solving you'd like to do? The caveat is, of course, that, there are a lot of technical consulting roles which may not need that, right? But mostly they're a good indicator of the kind of things you could be doing. I think the third thing you're saying is, of course, internships. I mean, NOUS does graduate internships every year, So I think we have, I forget, but it's like 3 to 6 months internships, right? So that's very good. I think the other thing is, of course, in your peer group, or if you find someone who's working in a consulting firm, talk to them, right? and I would also suggest that, because there are many kinds of consulting firms, like we were saying, there's management consulting, there's technical consulting, there's like human capital consulting, which someone has just asked a question about in the chat, right? Then there is kind of if you like, specialized consulting, like risk management, right? Cybersecurity. I mean, that's all very specialized consulting. So I think try and also see whether you want to be a specialist or a generalist. That's kind of important, and I think both paths are fine. And you can start with a generalist, become a specialist, start as a specialist, and then kind of transition to being a generalist. So it doesn't rule it one thing or the other out. But let's say if you were someone who only wanted to do cybersecurity, right, and you ended up in a generalist management consulting firm, you'd go like, why am I doing all these other things, right? So that's an important thing to think through.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your input on that. And on that note, we do have a question for you, Jen. So I'm going to pop that on the screen.
Okay.
So the question is, I have prior experience in recruitment, but I'm looking to make a switch to human capital consulting. What are some suggestions you can share to be able to make that move?
Okay, well, probably firstly identify which companies hire for those skills. So, what is human capital consulting? Who is in Australia who hires for such a profile? And then follow them on LinkedIn, identify their recruitment pathways. It might not be a graduate pathway, could be just a junior role. With any particular space, for anyone on this call today, I think a really good skill to have, but especially so for human capital, is to actually tag on some data type of modules in your studies now. So if you're studying at uni and you can tag on some basic data analytics modules, or if you can go online and learn it on Coursera or on LinkedIn Learning and add it to your CV, I think that type of analytical skills are going to help you stand out. And then essentially don't sell yourself short. Like, don't just go, I want to work at Capgemini, or I want to work at this place, and that being your only target. Start anywhere based on what you want to do, but it's nice to have a vision, but don't be so rigid that you feel like it's all or nothing. Just start somewhere and have a vague idea of where you want to head, and then just follow your nose. Is a really important thing, because we come in, my experience has people who only want to ever be a data scientist, and that is it, the end. They know by the age of 21 what they want to retire on at 65. But the thing is, in our days now with tech where it is, the job that you're going to end up having by the time you're 40 hasn't even been invented yet. So just relax a little bit. It's nice that you know what you want to do. For example, the human capital consulting, you could maybe start in just management consulting and then have those skills about you that you could evolve and add to in the space that you're hired into. So pretty broad answer, but follow the companies you think are consulting in that, and see what skills they're after. Do analytics, add some of that value into your CV, would be my guidance.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I also just wanted to ask if you had anything you wanted to add on the question before that, which was just advice for graduates or current uni students on how to actually get started in the consulting industry, and if there's anything that they can do to make themselves stand out as an applicant.
Oh yeah, definitely got some good ideas. to work out whether you're interested in it, I mean, look, a virtual internship is pretty low overhead and easy to get onto. So Prospel does offer that. So look it up and sign on and do it. Capgemini, I think we've got 2 virtual internship, one a data one and one's a management consulting one. So have a go looking at the case study and having an answer and seeing if that type of thing excites you. But that's only that much, right? That you're just doing it by yourself. Internships, again, are quite competitive. There's hardly, barely any spots that for so many students. So don't feel bummed out if you don't get into one. How to make yourself stand out? Well, look at the company and know that when you're interviewing for a company, there is this power imbalance that people come in with that freaks any candidate out. But just know that you're also assessing the employer to work out if you actually want to work with these people. So make sure you take some of your power back and kind of assess who you're interviewing for. And then how to really make yourself stand out is the number of people who don't have a LinkedIn profile really surprises me. So I think without doubt, we've been in a lot of employer panels, all of us, when I'm recruiting. So sometimes I am the recruiter. Immediately I have a CV, I will look you up online to see LinkedIn, because all CVs blur into one. They all look the same. But then when I look into LinkedIn and I can see, your qualifications, stuff that you post about, any articles that you share, it gives me more of a dimension to go, oh, okay, this is what this person's about. So quick, smart, get yourself a decent photo, not your party photo from Insta, but like a decent professional-ish looking photo on LinkedIn, create a profile. You don't have to pressure yourself to actually write your own thoughts online, like Twitter or anything. But if you follow, I don't know, Harvard Business Review, if you're a data person, you found a cool article on data, share it. And then, you've met Sudipto here today, you've met Emily, you've met myself. Find us on LinkedIn and connect with us. You broaden your network. This is not about friends. This is about your professional network. So grow it. Then you'll find people like us posting to say, hey, we're hiring in January, applications are open. Great. So you already have that intel just from your feed, from just another app. And then you're on it front foot. So really get your profile up and going. It's like a really major win.
I love that. Thanks so much for that tip. I think LinkedIn is so important. And my sister, she's actually going through university right now. So she'd be in a lot of, for all of you watching, she's in a similar position to you guys. The number one thing I told her going into university was get your LinkedIn, make sure you're connecting with people. Another great tip as well is when I was back in uni and I was doing up my LinkedIn, I actually looked for someone that I looked up to and I wanted to be in a similar position to one day. And I kind of saw what they did and how they structured their LinkedIn, what they had. And that really helped me figure out, what to put in my bio, how to phrase my LinkedIn to make me fit a certain career path. And yeah, definitely, connect with people like you've met the 3 of us today. I know I'm constantly liking job opportunities and internship opportunities that Prospel shares. So the amount of times I've seen things from other people's posting and likes has just been amazing. You can really find out, so much through LinkedIn. So I just wanted to add that because that's really great tip. So I have another question, and then we're going to go to a question in the audience. So my question is, what can graduates expect in a consulting job? So, what's the day-to-day of a graduate consulting role, if we can kind of generalize it, because, it'd be quite different to more of the senior roles. So I'd love to talk a bit about that. So I'll go to Sudipto first and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. And like you said, it does vary a bit by role, but I can talk a bit to the Nous experience. So when graduates join, first is they kind of 3 to 4 weeks, they're in an intensive induction. So they get basically all the, if you like, the frameworks and the practice case studies, and then some of the hard skills as well, like there are people, let's say, from economics background or who haven't done any digital in their studies, or there are people from arts background who haven't done any Excel, right? So we build up kind of some of those skills as well. And then there is a lot of kind of, if you like, simulating a real project by kind of making everybody work in teams, present to more senior consultants, get feedback on presentations. Because in consulting, one thing is there, that you will get feedback every day, every time, right? So it's can sometimes can be a bit confronting, right, where you join and you do something and instantly you get some feedback, right? I mean, so basically the induction is a big part of it, but it's kind of like, if you like, having a trial run. Then you go out on the real world, and mostly you either work on a project or on a proposal, right? So to start off with, you would be doing a small piece of analysis, let's say, or pulling some material together. And what would you be doing? You would be doing some research. As I said, you would be doing some writing. You would be doing some number crunching. If you're a specialist, then obviously, you'll be doing something that is related to your subject matter, which helps solves the big problem the project is about, right? But I think as time goes on, you basically move from doing like discrete tasks and solving small problems to taking on bigger parts of the problem, right? And the first part is like doing a bit more, but then you can push yourself by contributing to internal meetings, by talking about the work you've done. Then the next step is you can kind of talk to it at some of the client meetings, right? And as you do that, actually the work you do in using your core skills, right, which let's say you learned at induction and during your uni, that gets better and better, right? So what I would say is that uh, what you'll be doing kind of has those core components, but the whole aim of consulting is to kind of get better every day, and that's because every project is different from the other. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for that. And I'll head over to Jan if there's anything you want to add to that at all.
That was a really good comprehensive summary. The type of stuff that a grad can do when they join a consulting career depends on what the grad's core skills are coming in. So one thing to make very clear in most places, there's so much diversity in degrees and the skills that we need, right? So we could need someone with Java skills who needs to cut code, or we might need someone with a org psychology degree who needs to help with change management to implement exactly the same project. So it depends on what your background is. You could be working as a junior change manager, working in the team to understand, what are the project milestones, which are the stakeholders who we need to actually, communicate in which way, and embed the change that's coming in and work on the whole strategy and implementation on that. And you'll be working that out. Or you could be creating modules and committing code to production, or testing it, or you could be running workshops as a business analyst to go, well, what does the client actually want? And, work out what the requirements are, what the gaps are, what does the system need to do, and creating, little user cases and communicating with developers on it. So that's kind of like depends on where you are and what SDLC that your project's working on. You could also be a PMO. That's a really good pathway. Like people might go, oh my God, PMO, but it's like the best way to start. Program management office is like your first step into project management, but it gives you an authority to actually feed in with all the different project managers on, how they're going to time, how's their project tracking, how their financials, how's their resourcing. So you're actually kind of part of the governance team on massive programs. And it's like the best way to actually gain insight on how the health of a project is managed. So usually there are, many junior people who work on that with some, with a massive, like a experienced person, but it's a really nice advantage to have. over at Capgemini, you can also work in like accelerated solution environments where we're actually working with clients to work out what their next 5 to 10 year strategy is going to be, and we kind of nut it out in a week. So like these massive workshops, and have many players from the client side, from our side, all coming to accelerate the solution in an environment. And so it depends. You could do a whole lot of stuff. One thing is you need to come in with an attitude of playing the long game. People freak out going, I've spent 8 months to a year working as a PMO. What's happened to my life? Well, your career can span for 40 years. 1 year in PMO is like, you got to look at the long game and what you're learning along the way. People freak out going, oh my gosh, I didn't want to be a BA for the rest of my life. Well, hello, it's only 1 year. You're picking up all these other skills. You get trained, just like how the Nous Group trains with essential skills. We also train essential skills to equip you for your 40-year career. But just one thing I've noticed in this generation, or I don't know, maybe all young people are like this. I don't recall being young, but it's just, you got to come in with this attitude from wherever you land is, what are you going to learn and what are you picking up? And another thing is, we also say there's no such thing as just a grad. You lead from where you land right now. So a lot of our communities are reconciliation action plans for the Indigenous employee resource group, our Outfront communities, our neurodiversity communities. It's powered by a lot of graduate and junior people who are leading the way to say, what social revolution do we want to have? What goodness do we want to have? And they power up these conversations and they lead the way. So it's essentially you make sure you make whatever you can of whatever you land in. There's no such thing as, oh my gosh, I'm spending a week photocopying something for someone. Well, that might seem lame, but use that downtime to actually read what you're photocopying and ask about it and build your skills. You're never too good for something. So always have that good attitude, and you just make great things of it for yourself. Back to you, Emily.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that super detailed response. I think I learned a bunch in there too. I just had one more question for you, Jan, because you touched on it before, and I wanted to ask, what is the difference between external and in-house consulting?
Yeah. Same. You've got a situation, whatever it is, I don't know, accounts receivable, they're all manually processing stuff, and there's like a lot of paper. And people are going, yeah, I think we need to get into 2022, so let's like digitize the heck out of this. So in-house consultant, which is kind of like an IT, like a BA type of role, could be like just works for the company, works in a different department in IT, and then it's like going in, the stakeholder happens to be another team, and then you just manage and you get the solution in, and away you go. An external consultant would be, like working for consulting companies like ours, who have a statement of work, a contract with a different organization to do the same thing. And you just the company gets paid, you get paid by your company. The only difference I can think is, like people, I can't talk to auditing and stuff, but I think there could be auditing that happens in-house. There could be like internal work that they do. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but there is that element. I don't know if Sudipto knows much more than me, but I have simplified my answer to say, yeah, in-house just means you're doing work for your own different teams, and external facing is when you're actually deployed out onto client side. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think, Janani, what I would just add is that, look, my belief is your experience is much better if you join a real consulting firm, right? Because, a consulting firm, that is their business, right? So whether it's Capgemini now, so any other firm, like the investment in training and development is very high, right? Because, well, that's how we make, that's how we make a living. In an internal consulting role, what happens is that company is in some business, whatever, retail or something, right? And then they kind of go like, oh, some of the consulting like things we need to do, maybe we can set up our own team. But often what happens is that team maybe ends up working on some of the smaller problems, although that's not strictly true, so don't take it like that. But it is true, right? For them, is consulting their focus? No, their focus is whatever it is, right? Selling groceries or whatever. Yeah. But for consulting firms, consulting is the only focus. So I think in terms of professional development, career growth opportunities, I mean, if consulting is for you, you're honestly better off joining a consulting firm, right? On a day-to-day basis, as Janani was saying, the work may not be radically different, right? But what you get out of it, and also the diversity of projects. If you join a retailer, well, you're just working on retail projects, right? If you join a consulting firm, you could be working on lots of industries. Yeah. So that's my shameless plug for consulting firms. Yes.
Oh, shameless. I loved it. I've got to add to that. I
Hmm.
think a formal grad program definitely has
Yes.
its benefits, 100%. It's more than I ever had because I didn't start consulting, right? So I started from like building computers and moving servers around. But I also want to add to that. So like through and through, if you get in, yeah, great. It's a great pathway. But I worked for Lion Nathan, it's a brewery, and then Datacom prior to that. You do, regardless of the path you start on, you do learn. You get to bounce around from a call center project to a warehouse project to accounts receivable project. And the thing is, there's value in that as well. So don't be bummed, because I feel like there's a lot of pressure on people to try and get into like the big 5 or the big 10 or the big 70, and if you feel quite dejected if you don't get in. So I just want to like ease up that pressure a little bit to say, it's not the end if you don't get in. Start somewhere. I personally would start at Woolworths. They've got like multi-gazillion dollar programs. It's and everyone's got an accounts receivable, everyone's got a warehouse, most people, retail does. Most people need a CRM. So that type of skill that you learn in-house is applicable. But the advantage of consulting is you're one day working in different industries. You go from banking to telco to retail, and that you can't knock, but that's not everything.
Perfect. Thanks for the answers, guys. The other question I had for you, Sudipto, was actually around career progression. So I just wanted to ask, what kind of career progression can graduates expect in consulting?
Yes, I think what I would say is right that career progression is quite rapid, right, in consulting, because you learn lots of skills. So the number of levels, right, in consulting, I mean, differs by firms, but safe to say, right, like every 2 or 3 years, I mean, you're likely to move up a level. And so then you go like, oh, so if there's 6 levels, what do you do after 12 years, right? So what you do is you kind of reach the level called partner, and there it's not as if you stop growing, but it's just that you kind of become more and more experienced, and you are working on bigger and bigger, if you like, deals and projects. So I think, so in career progression, uh, I would say, and for a lot of people, after doing, let's say, 4 to 5 years in consulting, they go like, oh, it's just it's just okay. I've seen lots of different things, I've learned lots of things, but you know what, I've kind of grown up, in inverted commas, and all I want to do is banking, right, for example. And then they'll leave a consulting firm and join a bank, and that's fine too, right? Because if that's what you want to do. But in your first 4 5 years, where you'll move up a couple of levels, you'll pick up lots of new skills. Your responsibilities will increase. You'll be working on lots of big problems, which, if you see at the equivalent level in client organizations, you would be hard pressed to. right? So I think that's my kind of summary. But of course, there's so many dimensions to this. In a way, it's kind of hard to answer in 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's more than reasonable, I think. There's so many different, answers to it. The other question we had, so we'll just answer a question from the audience now. This is to the both of you, so feel free to say something if you feel like you have an answer to this question. So they've received an offer to start as a tech consultant next year. How can they navigate the role? Is there any checklist, tips, or advice that either of you would share? Does one of you have anything you would like to add to this?
I
Yeah, I
can
think I'll
start.
hand over to Janani. Yeah, so we are not we don't have really a deep technology implementation practice, right? So I think Janani, you're much better placed to answer the question. Yes.
I've got us. That's okay. I've got a good idea. So to answer this question, I think Panda. So congratulations on receiving your offer. So you're a match. So they've got something in mind for you. So I think you go in with an open mind and just breathe and relax and listen well to what they want from you. So when we get a technical consultant in, we'll do your standard what's consulting, the basic 101 for about 3 weeks. And then the technical consultants go into the tech teams and then may train a little bit more on MuleSoft or Salesforce or whatever tools that you need to be aware of. And then you may get deployed onto a project to just start. So it's pretty much your active listening. The most important thing, and this advice applies to everyone, the most important thing in early career, but even as you get older, is AI. So remember this acronym AI. Having a good attitude and using your initiative is like the two most important things that will help you no matter where you want to go in your career. And when you start, have a good attitude, don't play victim and go, oh, no one ever told me and I didn't know. Just start to get rid of this blaming mentality and just listen to go, what do you need to know? If someone hasn't handed you some information, then use your initiative to work it out, because you'll join a fast-paced environment. People will be busy. People will try to make time for you. People will try to set you up the best they can, but you're not going to be spoon-fed. So don't look for spoon feeding and try to solve things. So when you go, if you've been given something and you don't know what to do, don't just go, what do I do next? It's almost like try and work it out. Speak to your peers, speak to your buddies that you'll be assigned. Think for a little bit, research on Google and think, okay, what am I supposed to do? Then when you go, say, let's pretend Emily's your boss and say, I've been in a situation, I've been given something and I don't know what to do next. Go up and go, Emily, thanks for your advice. I know this is due on Friday and I got stuck on this point, but I've spoken to a few people and I think the next steps are this, this, and this. Can you just validate for me? So much better than going, Emily, what do I do next? Because that's really annoying for Emily and she doesn't want to answer you every time you get stuck. So try and work those things out, and that will take you very far, because at least then you've shown that you've got the ability to try and work things out for yourself. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We do actually have another question as well, so I'll pop that up again. This question is around risk consulting. So I would like to get some advice on how to get into the risk consulting field. Was there anything that either of you wanted to share? Some quick advice?
Yeah,
Depends on whether.
sorry, you go.
Yeah, I'll hand it to you in a second. It depends on whether risk as in cyber risk. It depends. So if we want someone specifically in risk, we pretty much are talking about cybersecurity, and we will say so in our interview. Sometimes when people advertise for grad roles in Prospel or other sites, they actually say, risk advisory graduate position. So, search maybe by keywords. And otherwise, start somewhere and then look and express your ambitions to get into a space that a company may actually do risk advisory. So, for example, same answer as the other person who talked about employee something previously. Just find the companies that do recruit in your space, follow them and see what their ads are, but then you can also search by keywords. That's the best I can do for that one. Over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's very good advice, right? And the other thing I would say is, I think something, Janani, you said before, right? Like, don't be super specialized in the beginning, right? I mean, that generally, you might have got it right, honestly, and obviously, like for example, if you're someone who's done actuarial studies, right? Okay, you probably got it right. I mean, you're not going to do anything else. But if you're a bit more of a generalist, like, see if you can start a bit more general. But if this is all you wanted to do, I think the best answer, like has been said just now, is try and find those firms where that is all they do, right? Because the chances are, if you join more generalist firms, and you'll also find the more specialized the firms are, the smaller they tend to be, right? I mean, that's just a law of the like market, right? So the thing is, so you got to weigh that up also, right? I mean, if you join a super specialized place, it's likely to be much smaller. Doesn't mean it's small, because there are global risk consulting firms which are, let's say, which are like a few hundred people around the world, right? But so I think you have to, so if you're really really sure that's all you want to do, and you have very good grounds of that, then just find those firms, whether they are in Australia or in Singapore or Hong Kong or UK, doesn't matter. Just try and kind of interview with them, because then for a person of that profile, that is like the highest value action they can take, if they're 100% sure, right?
Yeah, I agree. And that actuarial study example was really good.
Mm.
I agree with you. And I just think there's such a race to get it all sorted out in your early 20s, to specialize and be the king, queen, or non-binary person of cyber. But what are we all racing towards, right? Like, I think everyone, it just needs to chill. Yes, you need a job, get a job. And, we normally talk about a T model. This debate, but spend the first 10 years of your career looking at your career as a T, and just going general, just working out what's there. And then look at diving deeper into one particular space because you're interested, not because it's what your parents said or it's what someone said. It's just because that's what you're interested in. And take your time. I mean, yeah, sure, if you want to be partner by 30, go for it. But then what? Like, are you happy doing that? So look at what's actually making you happy and ease up on this rat race to nowhere, and just enjoy working out what you want to do. So spend your time glancing. That's the joy of being an early career, is spend your time working out what others are doing and, oh, that sounds interesting, and go. So I pivoted my career into change management when I was 30. I had no idea what change management was, but turns out that I love that. And 3 years ago, I didn't know I would be doing this job. Just keep an open mind of what actually interests you, and say to opportunities that feel right. So don't try to have it all worked out up front.
Awesome. I think there was some really great advice there, and definitely advice that would calm down a lot of us stressed uni students right now. So just talking a bit about consulting, I also wanted to ask about the pros and cons. So I'd love to hear both of your takes on what are the pros and cons of a consulting career. So I think we go to Sudipto first.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. I mean, I think that's actually relatively easy question for once. So the pros are, you learn a lot, you learn lots of quickly, you grow as a person, you are exposed to many different situations. Uh, and you work with some people who are like very highly motivated and kind of want to get things done, right? So what are the cons? Well, some of the cons are that generally you do work hard, right? You don't work as hard as you do in investment banking, for example, but you generally do work hard, right? uh, the other thing is, I guess you can say, is you are never really comfortable, right? Because every project's kind of different and you kind of wonder, oh, have I really learned anything? Am I really developing a core skill and that kind of thing? So you're just like, there is, if you like, a bit more ambiguity, right? uh,
Yeah.
and I think the third thing, I guess, is that it is a, if you like, a customer facing role, right? So you're dealing with customers all the time. I mean, that works for some people. I mean, like, some people get a lot of energy from it, but others kind of go like, oh, it's too much of a pain, I just want to kind of sit at my computer and do things, right? So I think, and obviously the last con is that if you have made up your mind to be a super specialist, well, then either you find the super specialist consulting firm, or work in that specialty in, in a startup or a tech company or Facebook research or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Perfect. And Jen, did you have anything to add to that?
I thought that was a really honest answer, to completely relatable to Sudipto.
Mhm.
It's hard. It is challenging. It is complex. The pro is that you're never doing same thing day in and day out, and the con is you're never doing the same thing day in and day out, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And I've got a faint heart. Like, it's ambiguous. You're trying to work it out, and you could spend years. So I'm in my 13th year, and yes, I've moved into HR, so it's a little bit more same, but not. You could spend a good part of your life kind of going, do I know anything? Why am I always rapidly upskilling? Like, seriously, why can't I just have a job where I just know what to do walking into the door? Why am I always trying to work it out? And the thing is, eventually it clicks. It clicked on the final few engagements I had before I hopped over to do some other stuff internally, where that core skill that you learn is then becomes a templated way of thinking that is applicable no matter where you go. And then you have that reach into best practice and a team of experts, and you can pull in the right people. That becomes your talent. I'm talking about pure management consulting here, but then from a techie, developers, SAP consultants, or Salesforce consultants, as you build your years and your time on projects, you will be able to build your expertise in that area, right? So you just have to have that space to go, I don't know stuff, but always follow it up with a yet. You don't know it all yet, and you will at some stage find, oh, I actually know something. I actually know something more than a grad that just walked in the door. So that is progress. Consulting has a really bad rep for time, like time as in like commitment to work hours. I say beware, choose carefully. Not all consultancies are the same. Go look on AAG's top 75 list. That's a good indication, because that list is telling you graduate satisfaction on a program. Okay, so that gives you, because that's not the employer's marketing money or anything that's getting them ranked. It's the survey results of the grads within programs. So be informed as to who you are looking at for a job, and don't rule out a career in consulting because of I follow all the meme pages, and like I know what it's like and what the reputation is, and it's true in a lot of places, but it's also not true in a lot of places. So just be there's a good word for it that's not coming to mind. Just be mindful of where you apply for. And speak. You hit people up on LinkedIn, and if you see someone works as a graduate at Nous or at Capgemini, just ping them and go, "Hey, what's it like? Are you happy there? What's the culture like?" And make your decision that way.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So this is my last general question before we talk about what job opportunities you guys have and just answer the last question from the audience. So my last question, it might be a bit of a hard one, so please answer it however you think you can. I just wanted to talk about what are the different types of consultants in tech, business, data, and more. If you could give like kind of a general overview on the different types of consultant roles. We'll go to Jan first for that one.
Different type of consulting roles for juniors. Is it for juniors?
Yes.
It goes from, you can be a junior BA to a junior change manager to a junior tech developer to a junior data analyst or a programmer. Like, it depends on at Capgemini, that's what it is. So you never come in with a psych degree and be asked to code in Java. Like, we wouldn't do that. So you live in specific teams on purpose, and we don't do rotations because we wouldn't do that to someone, right? So you've got a speciality and an interest that we work out at a recruitment stage. You have your home, and then you just pretty much extend your skills on projects based on your skills. So any topic you can think of, you just become a junior in it, and then you apply your skills to a project. That's a very simple answer.
Awesome. And Sudipto, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, no, that was a very good answer, I think. And in terms of opportunities, I mean, just go to our website, and I had a quick look right now, right? So there's analytics consultant, there's customer experience designer, and where it says consultant, it means a generalist consultant, right? So I think that's kind of so if it doesn't say anything, that's a generalist consultant. But if it says something specific, then like as Janani said, that if you are a specialist and we hired you, yeah, we are not going to try and to tell you to do something else, right? Most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And there's also job opportunities for Capgemini and the Nous Group on Prospel. Grad Australia. Prospel is the parent company. Grad Australia is one of them. On those ones, you can also find like a bunch of videos, like we've done a bunch of like other webinars as well as day in the lives. If you want to see, what they do on a daily basis, there's also blog post articles. It's really great for getting an understanding about the companies. Jan, was there any opportunities that you wanted to share?
Yeah, we've got a live job opportunity for an intake in October, open now. I think it closes on the 15th of September. We're inundated with applications because, we just are. Let me just say it because we're good. But then we will open up again for next year, and we're looking at very large numbers of intake. So there's a really good chance to work with us. Very simple hiring process. We will not be making you slave away at assessment centers. We try to make it as painless as possible. So look us up next year, but if you want to squeeze in an application this year, you're welcome to apply. You've got a few more days left.
Awesome. And there was just one more question I had for you. It's this one here. So does Capgemini, do they take candidates who are not PR or citizens?
Yeah, good question. We haven't done so, but the best news ever. We've been chipping away at this for 3.5 years now, And I've heard just last week that we will be able to take some non-PR holders in next year for the grad program, but there's agreements and stuff with the government for our visa processing. That's where the complexity comes in. But our mobility team has worked out how to be able to, because we really need to open up our doors for international students. So the short answer is yes, watch this space next year. When you see our site, you will be able to come in through another pathway and apply.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up here, guys. So, if there was any other questions you guys wanted to ask, feel free to reach out to Prospel. You can contact us on our social medias. You can also send us an email, or you can also reach out to our speakers today. Before I wrap up, I just want to know, do either of you have any final pieces of advice or things you want to share? I'll go to Jan first, and I'll give you guys a final wrap up.
Okay, what's the topic of the session? Navigating careers, early careers in consulting. My biggest advice is please just relax and ease into it. You've got a career for 40 years. Just follow your nose, have a good time, and be easy on yourselves, and just enjoy your journey. Over to you, Emily.
And Sudipto, did you have any final advice or things you'd like to say?
No, I think that was very well said, and I think that holds a lot, especially in consulting, where it's not all laid out in advance for you, but you have to kind of make something of it. So that's very good advice. Right.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming on and speaking. I can see that, our viewers also found it very helpful from the comments. So really glad that you guys also tuned in today to listen. So the next step I would say for anyone who's watching is make sure you head to Grad Australia and you can set up your career profile. Make sure you actually fill in all the custom details as well, because that's the way that you actually get customized job opportunities sent to you, which I think is just so helpful, because I know when I was like a grad, I had to literally go through things step by step to find different jobs. So make sure you set it up and say like what you're interested in, because then you'll actually get those custom opportunities. And definitely go and check out the profiles of Capgemini and the Nous Group, because there really is so much more information on there. There's literally blog posts and the lives, there's more videos, and I think it's just really helpful to learn more about the company. And that's also really helpful knowledge when you go into your interviews and you want to impress the hiring managers. So if you guys have any questions at all, or you need to reach out, definitely send us a message on any of our social media platforms. We also host these webinars weekly, so we have a bunch of different ones. So I would definitely suggest you share them with any of your uni friends or anyone navigating an early career, because we do all sorts of topics. Like we've got tech, we've got nursing, engineering, and we always have really great speakers as well. So it's super helpful. So if you guys enjoyed that and you want to watch this back, just head to the YouTube channel and it'll be up there, or you can head to the employer profiles and you'll see the video there. So that is all for today. So thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and thank you to our speakers again for being amazing. We hope to see you guys next time. Bye.